All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle one of the biggest, oldest, and most heated questions in all of pop culture, the Superman problem. Yep, we're talking about the Man of Steel himself, and this one big issue that's been hanging over his cape for what, 80 plus years now?
On one hand, you've got this character who is, a global icon, right? That S on his chest, everyone on the planet knows what it means. He's the OG, the blueprint for pretty much every superhero that came after. And yet, let's be real for a second. A lot of people find him boring, unbeatable, predictable, kind of a dead end for storytelling.
And look, this isn't just some random complaint you see on a forum. We're talking a serious, long-standing critique from writers, directors, fans, pretty much everyone. And the central accusation is that he's just too powerful. So powerful that he can't be interesting. So is that true? Is Superman fundamentally broken as a character? Well, let's dig in and figure it out. Okay, so before we can even start to answer that, we've got to be on the same page. What do we actually mean when we say a character is overpowered? Because it's not just about being super strong. In storytelling, it's way more specific than that. And for a story, it can be way more destructive. So here's the thing. The problem isn't about how much weight a character can lift. It's about what that strength does to the story. Think about it. If a character is so powerful that you know they're going to win every single time, where's the drama? You don't have a story. You just have a checklist of things for them to do. And that right there, that's basically poison for a good story. All the suspense, gone. The stakes, they just evaporate into thin air. I mean, if you already know the good guy's gonna win without breaking a sweat, what's the point of watching? That's the real problem when we talk about a character being overpowered. All right, so with that definition in mind, let's ask the big question. Does Superman fit the bill? Well, let's take a look at the evidence, and trust me, there's a lot of it. I mean, just take a look at this toolkit. The guy is basically invulnerable to anything you can throw at him. He can literally move planets. He's faster than light. Then you add in flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, super hearing, genius-level intellect. The list just goes on and on. Seriously, how are you supposed to write a believable bad guy for him that isn't some galaxy-ending monster? You can see how this backs writers into a corner, right? You've got this character who can fix pretty much any problem in a split second. So what do? How do you build any tension? How do you create any real stakes when your main character is basically a god walking among us? Well, over the years, writers came up with a kind of toolkit to get around this problem. You could call them narrative workarounds. You know them. Number one, of course, is kryptonite, that glowing green rock that exists for literally one reason, to make Superman beatable. Then there's magic, which is the anything goes exception. You also have his own strict moral code that makes him hold back, or those storylines where, surprise, he loses his powers for a while. But really, all of these are just band-aids, patching up a bigger issue. And this is the key takeaway here. If you are constantly having to make up new rules or pull out the same old tricks just to make your hero vulnerable, maybe the problem isn't the story. Maybe the struggle isn't actually part of the character himself. The fact that writers have to do this over and over again, that's probably the biggest clue that something's off with the original concept. Now, to really see what I mean, let's compare him to someone like Batman. With Batman, his biggest fights aren't with the Joker. They're inside his own head. It's his trauma, his strict code against killing. Those are the things that drive his stories. The drama is baked right into who he is. For Superman, a lot of the time, the drama has to be, well, bolted on, usually with a glowing green rock. And it's not just Batman. Think about Spider-Man. Peter Parker worrying about paying rent is sometimes more interesting than him fighting Doc Ock. For characters like them, it's their limits, their very human weaknesses that make them so compelling. The conflict just grows naturally out of who they are. Okay, but let's be fair. There's a whole other side to this argument. A really strong one, actually. And it basically says that we've been looking at Superman completely wrong. The idea is that the real story isn't about his power. It's about his morality. It's not about muscle, it's about what he chooses to do with that muscle. There's this amazing speech from the Justice League cartoon that just nails this idea. He talks about living in a world made of cardboard, where he has to be careful all the time not to break everything and everyone around him. That's his real fight. It isn't with Lex Luthor, it's with himself. It's this constant heavy weight of holding back all the time. His biggest battles are always the internal ones. And you know what? There's a lot of truth to that. The absolute best Superman stories, things like All-Star Superman or Kingdom Come, they dive right into this. They're all about the weight of his power.
The argument is that his real challenge isn't punching a bad guy. It's waking up every single day and choosing to be good, when he could so easily be a king or a tyrant. And that choice, that's where the real story is.
But here's the thing. While those stories are incredible, they tend to be the exceptions, not the rule. It's really, really hard to tell that kind of deep philosophical story month after month for decades. And it doesn't really solve that core issue, does it? It doesn't change the fact that creating regular, believable external threats for him is just structurally difficult. All right, so we've defined our terms, we've laid out the case for why he's overpowered, and we've heard the counterargument. I think it's time. Let's weigh all the evidence and finally deliver a verdict. After all that, is Superman overpowered? Is there really a flaw at the very heart of his character that just kills the suspense?
Yes, based on the definition we started with, absolutely. The evidence is pretty overwhelming. The fact that writers always need these workarounds, it just points to a basic structural problem that makes writing exciting stories for him uniquely hard.
But wait, and this is the most important part of this whole thing. That's not a bug, it's a feature. In fact, it's the entire point of who he is. See, we've been asking the wrong question all along. Here's the thing. We judge Superman like his only job is to be the hero of a regular story. But that's not his main job. He might not be a great story engine, and that's because he's designed to be something way more important. He's a cultural symbol. I mean, just look at his history. It proves it. Back in the 30s, during the Great Depression, he was out there fighting for the little guy against corrupt bosses. In the 40s, he was a super patriot fighting in World War II. In the 50s, he was the perfect, clean-cut model citizen. Fast forward to the 2000s, and his stories were all about dealing with the kind of grief we saw after 9/11. You see, he's not one single character. He's more like a mirror, reflecting what society is hoping for and what it's afraid of in any given era. And that's why he has to be overpowered. He's not meant to be relatable in the way Spider-Man is. He's not supposed to have our flaws and our problems. He is an ideal. He's a symbol of the absolute best we could ever hope to be. He's what humanity could become if we were not only stronger and faster, but just better. So that brings us back to where we started, but maybe we're seeing it a little differently now. What if the whole idea that Superman is boring isn't really a critique of the character? What if it's a reflection on us? I mean, if a symbol of pure hope, decency, and doing the right thing for its own sake strikes us as dull, well, maybe the problem isn't with him. Maybe it says more about what we find interesting today, and that is definitely something to think about.